Yes, first off, and I know that you probably don't have an answer, do you know at all any reason why we don't have the mayor here tonight to review this with us?
She has another obligation, or she is at right now, and then she'll be here for the council meetings.
Thank you, Mr. Koher. Secondly, I had received an email from Ms. Brown at the auditor's office that showed me numbers that I was under the assumption that if we did nothing from what our current status was and showed a major deficit after 5 years, we're looking at $1 million deficit. And then this that you're displaying to me, which I'm assuming is coming from Ms. Brown as well, it would appear that it's not quite the same because the setup is the exact same, with the exception being there's the recovery plans added at the items added at the bottom. But the numbers are completely different. When I'm getting a fund balance deficit at the end of 5 years here, showing a $1.3 million to the good.
State what page you're on there.
Oh, I'm sorry, that's on page 10. It's probably the same numbers as what's on page 9 at that point. So I'm trying to figure out as to why I was looking at one document, now I'm looking at this document, it's about a $2 million swing. And it's before any recovery items are put into place.
Was the previous one based on the actual or the forecast of 2014?
Are you talking about the one that had the deficit?
Correct.
The previous one is stated as statement of revenues, expenditures, and all that good stuff for the years ending of 12 to 14, actual ending 31 of 15. Through 19 forecasted. So I have actuals through 14, forecasted begins at 15.
Right. Well, I'd have to compare the two to see where the road splits.
Because it's quite a split. I want to know what caused that split. Because, and the reason I say that is because this document that I received from Ms. Brown shows us in dire straits. It's, 2019, you're $1.4 million in deficit. You're really falling short. And then I look at this document presented that you emailed to us, and I'm seeing that in 2019 I'm still $1.3 million from the good.
By doing nothing.
By doing nothing. Which makes me question, outside of being able to have a robust street replacement program, it would seem that we're already okay.
There were two versions earlier, and I think this might be the second version. The first version had what I put in a 4% haircut on the income tax collections to be on the conservative side. And this is probably based upon what we actually received for the entire 2014, which during 2014 we collected nearly taxes from nearly 20 different years, mostly, within the 2-year period there. On the first one showing the deficit is more conservative, which, being that we don't have a lot of carryover money, which businesses would call capital, we don't have a lot of risk tolerance, so we want to make sure we don't fall back in the deficit, or our fiscal emergency status will be extended. And as long as that's in there, our Moody's rating's not going to be very good. There's things we won't be able to do.
So the first one I've seen is conservative, and the second one I'm looking at here is a little bit more optimistic, and we're looking at a $1.39 million to the good by 2019.
Yeah, and that amount, it is a large dollar amount, but when you consider we're spending in the general fund about $52,500 per day on average, that doesn't go a long way.
Could you possibly give me an answer as to why we're using the optimistic viewpoint when we're going to be implementing these plans compared to when I wasn't looking at the plan I was getting?
I can talk to her tomorrow about that.
And the only reason I ask, I don't want you to assume that I'm alleging anything, but looks sketchy. Like, look, we're in dire straits, but how when I put in all their stuff in, now all of a sudden, when the reality is we were using out 2 different models.